Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And we are now set for the grand conclusion of all of this saga. The last we were checking in was I had found out that the beast had been using again and that Dumblecock had been arrested at her house for violating the Danco.
God fucking damn it!
So, April 4th, I'm at work. I go to my locker every so often to get a drink of water and a new piece of gum. And I check my phone just real quick.
The only time you can, because you can't have it on the floor.
Yeah. And I get a text from my attorney. He's like, hey, great news. I wanted to text you, and normally I wouldn't do this, but we've been waiting for so long. The judge awarded you sole physical and legal custody of the girls.
Woo! Did you run around the warehouse screaming and celebrating?
I fucking wooed like Ric Flair, and everybody's like, what? And I'm telling them, I'm like, you have no idea the myriad of emotions I'm on right now. Like, let's just finish the day so we can get the fuck out of here. Because we get the decision, so that I was like, okay, I'll get her. I get out to my car after work. I simply text her the word, karma. And she replies, what do you mean?
She hasn't heard
Wait,
that.
you won? I'm like, oh, did your attorney not let you know?
Oh, you didn't know?
You might want to call her. She's like, there's no way this is going to stand. I'm going to get a different attorney that knows what the fuck they're doing, and I'm going to get a new hearing on this. I'm like, there's no appeal. This isn't a criminal prosecution.
Right.
You would have to file a whole new fucking case, dum-dum. And you're doing this all on credit cards, whereas I'm paying out of my savings. Again, I spent $31,000 in total.
Fuck!
Jeez.
In a year and change. But she didn't believe it. She thought the judge was out of her mind.
Of course.
Even though there was a mountain of evidence that showed how nuts she was. The custody order itself actually in many parts clearly states that the judge found her mentally unstable and unable to co-parent. And at one point said that she doesn't seem to even understand the definition or concept of co-parenting because she doesn't get what she wants.
Right.
And I'm like, it was the best day of my life since my son was born. And it's definitely a top 10er all time for me. And she has to remain sober. So, no use of non-prescribed mood-altering chemicals.
Okay.
So,
does alcohol count as that?
Yup.
Wow.
She's not supposed to drink. Or she loses her 2.5 days a week.
Oh, bitch.
Oddly, though, I will say I found it kind of shitty that the judge gave us alternating weeks in the summer. I'm like, how can you do that? You give her 2.5 days a week, but we go entire weeks in the summer? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we didn't end up following that in the summer because she had to work. So I gave her basically 3.5 days during the week, every week. So we were splitting it 50-50 just for summer. Also, Dumblecock can have no contact with my children whatsoever. He can't be around.
Fantastic. Yep.
He can't be on speakerphone when they're there. None of that shit. I wanted it to be so that she couldn't talk to him, but that obviously we couldn't do.
Yeah.
Right? So that was April 4th. April 6th, we filed the other emergency order with
The beast.
admitting to usage and continued, mental instability. Ah, God, Jesus Christ. Everything that happened at our house on March 25th, and we had the hearing for this, and I had to bring my laptop to work to not take another half day and do it on my lunch break.
In like the break room area?
In my boss's office.
Oof.
So we're doing this, and the judge is like, I could say a lot of things right now, but I don't think I need to because I can already see on your face, that you screwed up royally. And I hadn't even rendered the decision yet, and you're still doing the same stuff. So I'm taking away your overnights in lieu of you completing treatment, and then if you do that, you will get 4 weeks of one overnight. And if you stay sober during that time, you'll go back to 4 weeks of 2 overnights. And if you get through that, then the original custody agreement from a few days ago will then kick in. And she did complete treatment, so we went through all of that. But that wasn't the end of it because that was just the custody side. We had to iron out a support agreement.
Oh, yeah, because you have them all the time now. She should almost be paying you, or you do nothing.
Yeah, so what I used to have was joint, physical, and legal. Yep. I pay her $300 a month, and then the additional $119 that she took a downward deviation, and she'll never let me forget that she accepted less money. But what that meant was $119 was her portion of the medical and dental.
Oh, yeah.
And then instead of me giving her $419 and her paying me $119.
Right. Call it a wash.
Yeah. But she can never recall that. So again, like a fucking Looney Tune that needs a guardian, she's just ignoring the obvious explanation she's heard dozens of times from me, where I'm just like, never say downward deviation to me again. Yeah. Or so help me Christ, our lives will turn into an episode of CSI. Shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch.
Little sidebar here. I had the same thing going on with my son's mom years ago when I had to declare bankruptcy after breaking my leg.
Right.
I had co-signed on a car loan with her before we had separated, right? And they basically had to come back to her, and she had to sign a paper basically saying that since Neil declared bankruptcy, he was technically no longer a co-signer on this loan, and that she was agreeing to make the rest of the payments on this car loan, right? That's all that they were coming to her to sign for. And for years, she had it in her head that she was signing off and approving my bankruptcy, that I wouldn't have been able to declare bankruptcy if it wasn't for her signing off. Yeah, it was the craziest, most convoluted, like, how the hell did you get from point A to point Q on this?
What the fuck?
Right, and so for years, she would bring it up like she somehow did me a favor on this. I'm like, you don't understand.
That's the best part, is when they act like they fucking did you a favor.
I know.
Like, I took a downward deviation, or in, your kid's mom's case, like, I helped you declare bankruptcy. No, you didn't.
No, it was going to happen.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
We're talking mid-April to May here, that we're under this emergency order that she's got to adhere to, and we're still trying to hammer out the child support agreement, and we're squabbling over this, back and forth. And there was a matter of overpayment. I kept paying her child support without realizing I didn't have to, because I was caring for the kids full time starting June of 2020, and then major blocks of time since. I kept paying her up until March of 2021.
Okay, so about 9 months worth of.
Well, there was 1 month where she sent me a text that said, I'm not requesting the child support because I don't have the kids. And I had kept asking her, for months and months. Like, once she gave me the kids in June, July, August, and September of 2020, she kept saying, well, you can keep the check. I'm like, can I get that in writing? She's like, no, why would I do that? I'm like, you're trying to set me up, you bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always some fucking scheme to try to get me back. Instead of facing her own shit, she's always trying to get somebody else back. I'll fucking sue you. I'm going to ask for a new trial. I'm going to get a new lawyer that knows what the fuck they're doing. And we had agreements in place twice that we settled on all this. And she reneged on the day the attorneys were going to file it jointly, both fucking times. And I got so pissed off. I called my lawyer. I was fucking crying in anger.
I bet.
I'm like, I have paid you, or I am indebted to you $30,000. I make $42,000 a year. I have worked 3/4 of a year just to get my kids away from a goddamn monster. And you know what she told me? Is that she's preparing to declare bankruptcy. So she's going to keep dragging this out and tacking on more lawyer fees, that she's going to leave them holding the bag. He's like, well, that's not your problem. I'm like, it is my problem. Because every time she does something through her lawyer, she calls you, you call me, it costs money, I'm getting royally fucked. Yeah. So I got so pissed that I called the opposing counsel's fucking law firm and demanded to talk to her boss, which they took a message.
Okay. But you told him that what she's setting him up to do, to declare bankruptcy.
I'm like, she's going to declare bankruptcy, and she already owes you guys, what, $12,000, and she's not going to pay you. And she's dragging this out, and her attorney knows this shit. She told her that, so they were doing business in bad faith. How can I sit here and take this? And my attorney's like, did you call the other law firm? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, why? She is fucking her. She's fucking you. She's fucking me. She's fucking everyone else.
The beast
is fucking anybody she can right now, because she doesn't care. She's burn it down to the ground mode. He's like, but you can't do that. Just don't do that. Okay, to this day, I still don't understand why it's bad to call people directly and try to have a fucking adult conversation. It's red tape bureaucratic bullshit, this SOP that you can't talk to the opposing party's counsel. Why? We're all fucking adults and we all have a vested interest, and you're about to get fucked out of $12K.
They all talk amongst each other.
Right.
And the judges, everybody else, they're all talking amongst each other.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm cutting out the middleman and trying to do this justifiably with my moral compass fucking going in circles while she's fucking me, so you don't get a few dollars for the call.
I get why they do it, because they don't want everybody out there doing this type of stuff either. But yeah, at some point, the pavement has to hit the road, right? I mean...
Mm-hmm. So the hiccup was the overpayment, which she claimed wasn't an overpayment because she still used the money to take care of the girls. I'm like, no, you used it to pay your mortgage or for your groceries or for the number of fucking cell phones that you kept getting because you were having your identity stolen and were being monitored. You probably used it to buy fucking drugs. You kept yourself afloat with the child support money that I paid you that I didn't realize I didn't have to. And I was owed $2,150. They countered with $1,500. We eventually settled on $1,800.
Okay.
And the reason that her attorney was saying it's not that much, I'm like, fuck you. And I sent a long-ass email with all the dates I had them. I'm like, highlighted in red are the dates that she told me to come get the kids, that I fucking had them, that aren't a part of safety plans, but I still had them. So all of this is on record at our fucking hearing. So if you want to argue with what's on the official record that you did not object to at the time, be my motherfucking guest.
Fuck you!
1,800. And the sticky wicket here was she didn't want to agree that it would be non-dischargeable in bankruptcy.
Oh,
she was going to agree to it and then try to
bankruptcy
that
again.
Fucking cunt was going to try to screw me again.
Well, she was already going to do it to the lawyer bills, so yeah.
Why not everybody? Yeah. So we got it in there that it's non-dischargeable.
Smart.
And it's coming up due April of next year.
Oh, so she's got to pay it all in one lump sum?
She's got to give me a lump sum come tax time. But on top of it now, right now I'm supposed to get $50 a month of basic support.
Yeah, because
and then it's retroactive to when we filed in February of 2021.
Okay. Because
the judge, ruled in my favor on that filing. And if she gets a job and she makes more money, I can ask for a recalculation. She's supposed to give me her pay stubs and her schedule to verify. I haven't asked, and she hasn't done it, but she's been working consistently again. But she doesn't have to start paying until October, which is coming up. And why that gap? Because she went to treatment again in there. And we were giving her a few months to get her affairs in order.
Jesus.
So she successfully completed treatment again.
She can just keep doing this until the girls are 18, right?
Pretty much. Ugh. Or after they graduate.
Yeah.
Or if she says in a few years, she's told the girls, well, in a few years, you'll be old enough to decide where you want to live. And I'm like, it's not like that. They don't just say, I want to live with mom, and then you go live with mom. We have to go to court, and the judge will analyze everything that's going on.
Yeah, at this point where you guys have gotten to, there's no way that they can just up and make that decision like they say maybe my son could do, here as he gets a little older.
When the judge ruled, they were 11 and a half and 9 respectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to let one choose to go without the other. I'm fairly confident in that. But once they're both 13, I don't know.
Okay.
Because she's basically, deep dicking me my entire life on the installment plan. It's fucking ridiculous. So we'll see if when she files bankruptcy, which she's doing.
Oh, okay.
And she might still lose her house. I don't know. Because she was on the verge of losing it. And I was happy about that because I'm like, good. Because she deserves it. She wasn't working. She had it in forbearance forever. And then she told him she got a new job. And they gave her the forbearance tacked on to the end of her mortgage without interest so she wouldn't lose the house. Because they're trying to help people that were unemployed during COVID not lose their houses.
Yeah, there are a bunch of programs out there, and some of them are legitimately being used, but unfortunately, she sounds like she's taking advantage.
Well, if you think back to like 10 years ago when the mortgage bubble popped.
More like 14, 15 years ago.
And there were all the foreclosures. Yep. So they're trying to avoid that again because it crashes the economy. But here's the funny thing. She tells me, she's like, yeah, I thought that I was going to have my mortgage figured out, but now it's not because I made the mistake of telling them that I wasn't working when I asked for the modification and that I hadn't been working for a few months prior. So they squashed it. I'm like, good, you fucking cunt, you didn't deserve it. So she completed treatment, like I said, and that was the entire month of June. She gets home 4th of July weekend, and here's where things start getting weird. She comes home, and she's been taking her meds, and she's clear-minded sober, and we take the girls to the 4th of July carnival together.
Mm-hmm.
We get along.
Oh, yeah. That's throwing you for a loop.
It is. Because we're like joking like we're friendly again. which we hadn't done in a great while.
Well, it's amazing when you're not on meth, right?
You know, I did that comedy special for my 40th birthday. And as I openly discussed with a few people ahead of time, there's a bit in there where I was going to just rail on
the beast
for not getting COVID and dying and me being disappointed. But I'm like, I feel really weird doing that bit because we're getting along and it kind of feels like I'm kicking her while she's down because she's trying to pick up the pieces now.
Or kicking her while she's trying to get up off her.
Yeah. It just seems like, well, you know, in the movie Kickboxer, when Tong Po breaks his brother's back,
Okay.
it's just like excessive. Once he breaks his back, it's overkill. Right. I still did the bit, and it's because Rick James was like, okay, dude, I hear what you're saying. It makes sense. You're getting along. That's great. But you said a lot of what you're doing in this special is to kind of be cathartic.
I was just going to say catharsis.
All you've gone through. So you felt that at the time. You can talk about feeling it at the time. You don't feel it now. And that's an important distinction where you can still say it and it's not like you're kicking her. I'm like, touche. Good advice.
Preface it. That's
yeah.
all.
Here's a conversation from July 4th. It was just kind of a weird exchange.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting there and at one point we're sitting on a bench and she admits to thinking, you know, our 9-year-old, she's like, she's kind of a bitch. I'm like, oh, you think? She's like, I don't get that. Where does she get that from? I'm not like that, am I? And there's other people on this two-sided bench. I'm like, honestly, yes. 9 out of 10 people that know you would say that you're a raging bitch. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. You're a raging bitch. And if that's genetic, that's what's going on right now.
See one, do one.
Yeah. I'm like, everything that our daughter is multiplied by 1,000 is what you were.
Yeah.
No overestimation. You know, because I don't like to push people's buttons to the point where they fucking strangle me. Hadouken! I don't think I've ever pushed somebody's buttons to the point where they wanted to kick the door to my house open and stab me to death. Hadouken! Where I'm just going to tell you, there's been a few times when I really had to fight to not beat the shit out of this woman. Not because I like to hit women, but because I'm basically fighting Hitler with a vagina.
And anybody who didn't know the situation or know this woman would think you're victim shaming right now and saying, well, you're putting it on her. Like, she's the one who brought this upon herself. But if you knew this person, if you
I'm
knew
not
the situation.
joking. Again, let's review. 12 years of fucking intense pain and abuse of both the emotional and physical kind, and over 100 pages of police reports of mental instability and fucking with me. She beat me up. She beat up Loverboy, her other kid's dad. She beat up Dumblecock. They've had fist fights and shit, and he strangled her. It's like,
sounds
I'm
like
not
very unhealthy.
Joking when I tell people that she is the Michael Jordan of bitch-ass baby mamas. I don't know anybody else whose baby mama comes close. Yours is kind of like, if we're going Bulls, she's like Ron Harper.
Okay, yeah,
She's a strong supporting sixth man.
Oh, yeah. But no way is she like the star and
no, she's not Jordan or Pippen. She's not Tony Kukoc. She's not Cartwright. She's not Horace Grant. She's not fucking Dennis Rodman. She's not John Paxson. She's not B.J. Armstrong. She's a solid Ron Harper. Which is a really goofy comparison, but I'm glad that we went there. Yeah, Hitler with a vagina. But here's the thing. We're getting along, and it's weird because it's like Hitler has turned over a new leaf.
Right.
So imagine if he doesn't take the cyanide pill and die in the bunker. If he lets us arrest him, and he's tried for war crimes, and he decides, I'd like to open some orphanages for all the little Jewish babies and kids whose parents I killed in the Holocaust, all the ones that we didn't gas. Could we do that for them? Right. Like, imagine Hitler becomes like a nice fucking guy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? This is like an issue of Marvel's What If, and I don't like this.
Right. Bizarro world here. What do we step into?
Funny thing, the special I did on July 30th, the second week of August. This is after my 40th birthday.
The beast
came back.
Oh.
Like big
the
time.
cat came back, couldn't stay away. The beast came back the very next day.
She admits to being off her meds. And dude, it fucking showed. Holy shit, did it show. And then she had to appear for Dumblecock's domestic assault charge. And she went to court and begged the judge not to send him to prison over it and had the Danco squashed. So the Danco was squashed.
Dumb woman.
Right, and he could have taken a plea deal and avoided all of this. But he refused. He goes, I don't want this on my record at all. I'm going to fight it.
Who the f*** is this guy?
So the Danco gets squashed in the hearing. It gets continued because they're going to talk to her friend.
Okay.
The one who went with her to the hospital and told them what happened and took pictures of the fucking strangle marks.
Okay.
He's fucked on this. Trust me, he's fucked.
Good.
But the Danco squashed. And the next few weeks, they were arguing over the phone back and forth. And I guess... Yeah, Dumblecock. And
The Beast.
And she says they were together and they argued and there was an altercation that ensued. Again, she's using fucking ambiguous terms to not tell me the details of what's transpired.
Like, you're not going to find out.
Yeah.
Like, she's not going to tell you.
It's all a fucking trail of breadcrumbs. Here's the first lie. Yep. And I digest it and go, no, that don't add up. Oh, here's a new lie to cover the first lie. Well, that don't add up. And it takes forever to get to the fucking real story. You know, by that point in mid-August, I still don't know the extent of what the hell's going on, other than that she's got some scratches on her face and her middle finger's all scuzzed up. She says it was on the ground.
Like fingering a wormhole? What's going on?
I don't fucking... That's an itch. I didn't thought of that. She's trying to give back to nature by fingering Mother Earth. Right in her planet pussy. She won't tell me what transpired, but she wishes that she had not let the Danco be lifted.
Imagine that.
I will say in there, I don't remember the exact date of this, but somewhere before we got the custody ruling, there was another time shortly after he was arrested at her house that we drove by and he was in her driveway working on her van, and I was going with my wife to Target. Like, I have to pass by the Beast's house to go to Target.
Sure. Okay.
That's where I buy groceries and shit. I see him, I call it in, we wait in the nearby parking lot of a business to watch it. The cops show up. They got to the door. She wouldn't let him in. They left. They told us, sorry, we couldn't get him this time. And because I had called again, that's why she lifted the Danco. She didn't want him to keep being arrested for this, because 3 strikes would have been a felony. Not thinking straight.
Right? So, that's your home run there.
Here's the tail end of where we're at. 2 weeks ago, September 5th, she and I met at her mom's apartment complex to take the girls swimming. It's the last day of summer vacation.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking, and she says something, and she's like, it doesn't matter about the altercation and the Danco. I'm like, girls, I want you to take note that when your mom says it doesn't matter, she's hiding something. That's her bullshit coverall phrase to not give up the details of something she's either embarrassed of or that she did wrong. And I'm not saying this to start a fight. I'm just fucking telling you, burn that into your psyches. You're going to hear it a lot.
When you're 50 years old.
And the juice is crying. She's like, I'm sick of my parents fighting. I'm like, we're not fighting. And even the Beast is like, he's not fighting with me. He's just calling me out on my shit, honestly.
Wow, clarity.
And then she lights up a cigarette. I'm like, fucking spill the beans. Because you know I'm going to grind this axe until you give. She's like, okay, well, the altercation was more involved than I could have ever guessed. Because, and I don't know why he was at her house, but that he was there, and then she pauses. She admits that at one point he had her pinned down on her bed with her head up against the wall and his forearm across her neck.
God damn!
Fucking bad, dude. And she almost passed out. So sometime between that day when it happened and August 24th, a warrant was issued for him, and he was picked up on a new charge of domestic violence, and a new Danco was put in place.
Well, yeah, because the other one shouldn't have been lifted.
And now he's super fucked because he still hasn't gone to trial for the Hennepin County charge.
Mm-hmm.
And this new one is an Anoka County charge. And these Danco violations have violated the probationary terms.
Okay.
He's got like 4 fucking pending charges now. He's going to prison. She's like, you don't have to worry. He's violated enough now that I don't think they'll ever let this Danco be lifted. Like, it's a legacy Danco now because he's assaulted me twice.
Unless she goes in to ask it be lifted again or something stupid. Yeah.
And then the last little nugget here is she admits that, you know, with her therapy, she's close to getting the diagnosis that she wants. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And she's like, well, BPD. Borderline personality disorder.
Okay, I was thinking bipolar. Okay, yeah.
Which I've been saying for years she's had a personality disorder.
Sure.
And it fit the scheme of BPD, but there's also a lot of boxes that tick on NPD. Narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay, sure.
Where somebody will, if you make them look bad, if you make them look dumb, they'll fucking lash out and tell you how stupid you are and you don't know shit. That's one of the hallmarks. She does that all the fucking time.
Okay.
But then accuses me of having NPD. I'm like, do you understand how fucking legitimately rare that shit is? Like, this is a conversation we had during one of our supervised visits. I'm like, I don't want to hear your NPD bullshit. You have BPD. I am, without a doubt, sure of it. But if one of us does has NPD, it's you. because you think your shit doesn't stink. You can't own up to fucking anything. And when I call you out, if I say I don't think the girls need to go to the doctor for this, you're like, you're not a doctor. You're not a psychologist. You're not a lawyer. I'm like, I'm smart and I know things.
Yeah.
I draw upon my experiences from all the years I've had jobs and lived through shit. And she's close to getting it. And it's funny because when we first had CPS involved in June of 2020, the investigator that initially came out to interview the girl said, it sounds to me like she's got BPD.
Yeah. Professionals could see it even back then.
So it's been 2 weeks since all that shit. She's gotten back on her meds. We're kind of getting along. Possibly going to be able to pull this off. I don't know, but she's trying to stay away. She's not talking to him, which is good. Dumblecock's out of the picture. Knock on wood. So that's where I'm at. That's where things are at, is I have sole, physical, and legal custody of my kids. I call all the shots. She gets to give me input. I have the tie-breaking vote, so I get 2 votes.
Yep.
It's nice. It's a great fucking position to be in after so long, feeling like I was powerless, and the cops wouldn't help me, and the courts couldn't do anything. And if I had just been more educated on how I could navigate her bullshit, it probably would have bugged me less. And frankly, how it ties in is I would have been a lot easier to live with for my kids and my wife. Because the secondary side effect of having someone like her in my life is that it made me miserable to be around because I was always in fight or flight mode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You live in that. You're basically in survival mode too, right? I mean, you just live there. And yeah, unfortunately, you don't know where the battles end sometimes, and it carries over. You take it out on those that you are trying to protect.
And I think my adrenal gland at this point has got to be like a fucking raisin. just withered to the core after that long. It's weird. Being on the other side of all of this, and this is the final part of the episode here, being on the other side, it's like getting out of prison, and I'm institutionalized with the PTSD and the defensiveness that comes with dealing with somebody who's as mentally ill and chemically addicted as her. And I am being heartfelt here. Knock on wood. She keeps the shit together. She just pays me the overpayment money. We don't have to fight about shit.
Right. Life can actually settle down.
The kids can go back and forth, and we can actually parent them like we should have been doing the last fucking decade.
You win.
Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
I'm Steiny.
And that's the end.